Thanks for watching Hidden West. Please consider giving it a thumbs up and subscribing. That would really help out a lot. The San Francisco Oakland-Bay Bridge began construction on July 9, 1933. At the time, the bridge, designed by Charles H. Purcell, was considered an engineering marvel, requiring a new type of suspension using innovative techniques never done before. California Governor Frank Merriam officially opened the bridge on November 13, 1936. Then, a 4-day festival celebrated the finished bridge with parades and fireworks. Thousands eager to cross the bridge caused the biggest traffic jam in San Francisco's history to date. The bridge continues to provide access to San Francisco for over 100,000 vehicles every day. Damaged by the 1989 Loma Prieta earthquake, the eastern span of the bridge was rebuilt, although it took 24 years. In 1933, the San Francisco News published a letter proposing a World's Fair to be held at the end of the decade, a World's Fair to celebrate completion of the greatest bridges ever conceived, a great exposition to signal a new phase of San Francisco as metropolis of the Pacific Coast. The Great Exposition would become the Golden Gate International Exposition. The Golden Gate International Exposition opened February 18, 1939, and ran until November, and opened again in 1940 from May through September. This was not the first international exhibition San Francisco hosted. In 1915, San Francisco hosted the Panama Pacific International Exhibition. Between February through December of 1915, over 18 million people visited the fair. But it was so large, it covered over 600 acres. Even if visitors stayed several days, they might not see everything. This was where the Palace of Fine Arts came from. It was meant as a temporary structure, but San Francisco residents loved it so much it has remained. Restructured for permanence and earthquake safety, of course. The first exhibition was a magnificent show of art, architecture, and a positive future, after San Francisco went through such a horrific disaster of the 1906 earthquake. The city needed a pick-me-up, and it also needed to show the rest of the world that it was ready and open for business. The Golden Gate International Exposition, or GGIE, in 1939 was a look at a bright future, even in the darkness during the Depression, so helping the people in Western America know that they did indeed have a future. The exhibition included artists, architecture, craftsmen, both men and women of all the arts, bonding together to create something that had not been seen before. The theme of the exposition was a pageant of the Pacific, emphasizing the unity, heritage, and melding of cultures that share the Pacific Ocean. One of the sites that San Francisco wanted for the exhibition was an island in the middle of the San Francisco Bay. The site would be an island built atop Yerba Buena Shoals, a submerged rocky outcropping of the bay. This island would serve an additional purpose. A new airport would be built there after the expo closed. All this became possible in 1934 when San Francisco leaders persuaded President Franklin Roosevelt that the project would employ thousands and reap economic benefits. Military leaders supported the project. The leaders' potential as a Navy base was recognized from the beginning. Primarily funded by the federal government, the island was built in 22 months by the Army Corps of Engineers and completed in November of 1937. The total cost was approximately $4 million. Would traces of gold washed into the bay during the gold rush be found on the island? Evidently not, but in 1937, publicity directors named the place Treasure Island, and the pirate theme was born. In 1928, Mills Field Airport was established, renamed San Francisco Airport in 1930, and now called SFO. San Francisco International Airport is approximately 12.3 miles from San Francisco. A site closer to the city was considered desirable, and the city leaders decided that the island on the shoals will become the new airport. The federal government funded the airport buildings. The main building is simply called Building 1. Its Art Modern style includes the step-back architectural design, the long eyebrow over the front portico, the window detailing, and the terrazzo floors of the massive lobby. On a cold winter's morning, I visited Treasure Island via the SF Muni bus. For as close as the island is to San Francisco mainland, and how often I see it sitting there in the bay, this is only my third time on Treasure Island. Due to the nature of my show, I won't always go to the exact sites of my subject matter. That's impossible for me, but I thought I'd make an exception this time. I first visited Building 1. It's as grand as it looks in the pictures. It's a stunning building, and the inside is grand as well. In fact, the mural is incredible. It may be the first thing that catches your eye. The mural captures the entire history of the island on one long wall. Follow it and walk slowly along, scoping out the brushstrokes. As I entered the huge hall, I noticed the wood-lined walls, and then, after spending time looking at that mural, I saw to the right the Gold Bar Whiskey Distillery tasting room. Since it was still morning, it was closed, as was the lunch cafe towards the back wall. There is a very small Treasure Island museum in the back. It was smaller than I thought it would be. I spent about 10 minutes browsing everything, taking a few pictures before heading back outside to see the rest of the island. It is still worthwhile looking at, though. They had some pretty cool things, and the pictures were kind of nice. In 1937, Building 1 was not only the GGIE's administrative offices, it was the terminal for Pan American Airways. Its blue glass control tower and aviation-themed relief panels on the western walls broadcast the building's purpose. Building 2, designed as a hangar, was the Hall of Aerial Transportation during the GGIE. Above its entrance, the Spirit of Aerial Transportation sculpture cradles a globe embossed with an airline. Style bamboo molded frames to the doorway conveying the Pacific theme. Building 3, also a hangar, was the Palace of Fine and Decorative Arts. George Kellum and Will P. Day were the architects of the airport buildings. Kellum was a member of the architectural commissions of both the Panama Pacific International Exposition and the GGIE. I think these two hangars were the only buildings I didn't see, but they're under construction right now, so I wouldn't have been able to get close to see anything. The San Francisco airport moved from Treasure Island to SFO on the peninsula in 1944, where it is today, when it was evident the Treasure Island site was too small for the amount of air traffic the airport was getting. In fact, much of the island was under construction when I was there. Cyclists and pedestrians can get to Yerba Buena Island from Oakland side of the San Francisco Bay Bridge now. It's taken a long time and a lot of work, and the work continues. Crews were putting in restroom facilities and updated rest area fixtures at one spot I saw on the bus. So it's going to be really, really nice when it's done. Several movies have used Treasure Island in their filming, including Indiana Jones, The Rock, The Pursuit of Happiness, The Last Starfighter. After leaving Building 1, I walked towards the west coast of the island. This is where the magnificent San Francisco skyline views come from. They're the best you're going to find. I was quite lucky to be there on a morning that it wasn't raining and wasn't too cold. And the wind wasn't blowing. One thing this island is known for is wind. I talked to two locals who lived there for a few years. They say that there's been a lot of great improvements and it's much better now than it used to be. The walk along the water is really nice. The path is quite creative and there are plenty of places to have a seat and take in the views. It really has been built up a lot. There are many more apartments on the island now, as well as cafes and restaurants. And in the summer, there's a giant flea market. There are also wineries and a distillery on the island with live music at the distillery. There are about 2,500 people living on the island now, but I expect that to increase with time. I walked around the edge of the west and north of the island and then went a couple blocks inland to find something specific. Treasure Island isn't that big. I walked about 3.5 miles and covered almost all of it. I had to see where the Doggy Diner dog heads were, When I was a kid, there was these fast food places in San Francisco called Doggy Diner, and they had these big dachshund heads with chef's hats. There are 3 of them parked in front of the Treasure Island Fire Station. If you visit, they're there. Now, they do get moved on occasion for promotion or charity events, but they're there right now if you want to go see them. It just brought back everything I remember about going to Doggy Diner. We used to go to the one on Sloat Avenue, which is across from the SF Zoo. So we go to the zoo. When I was a kid, we go to the zoo, and then we go to Doggy Diner after. Every time we had to do that. If you want to check out Treasure Island, you can visit the museum, and you can go into the main building there, and then you can take a walk around. And it's really just a cool place to visit. They have a restroom on one of the walking trails. That's the prettiest restroom I've ever seen. It looks like a little house. It's so cute. There are small grocery stores, like I said, and there's a couple restaurants, but residents would have to go into Oakland or San Francisco to do most of their grocery shopping. Now, it's fairly easy to get to Treasure Island. You can drive there, of course, or you can cycle and walk from the eastern side of the Bay Bridge, or you can take Muni. It's Muni bus number 25, or there's also a ferry service from San Francisco. Now, the ferry service is not part of the Golden Gate Transit Service. It's a separate, independent one, so you can't use your Clipper card. Unfortunately, you have to pay separately. And it doesn't run that often. I wanted to take the ferry, but it only runs like every hour and a half, so it's not that convenient. It only takes 15 minutes, too, to get from one side of the bay to the other, and it doesn't run often. But the bus runs every 20 minutes, so it's really, really convenient, unless, of course, you get stuck in traffic on the bridge. Weather is usually mild on Treasure Island, although, like I said, it does get windy, so beware of the wind. It's going to continue to be built up even more and even be more of a treasure. I think there are great things that's going to be happening in Treasure Island in the near future. Check out this next video if you want to see something more.